Welcome to Future Forward, where we tackle the pressing issues shaping our world. Today, we delve into a topic that's becoming increasingly relevant in modern workplaces: the growing debate around employee productivity surveillance. The central question we're exploring is, should companies track employee productivity through surveillance? To discuss this, we have two distinguished guests: Mr. David Miller, CEO of Innovatech Solutions, who believes such tools can enhance efficiency, and Dr. Emily Carter, a sociologist specializing in workplace ethics, who raises concerns about privacy and trust. Welcome to you both.
Thank you, Sarah. It's a pleasure to be here. I understand that the idea of employee monitoring can seem intrusive at first glance, and I want to acknowledge the sensitivities surrounding this topic. However, I believe that when implemented transparently and ethically, productivity surveillance is a powerful tool, not for oppression, but for optimization and improvement. Firstly, let's consider the significant enhancements to productivity and efficiency. In any business, understanding how work is done is crucial for identifying bottlenecks and streamlining workflows. Transparently implemented surveillance systems can provide objective data that helps us see where processes are lagging or where resources are misallocated. This isn't about watching every keystroke minute by minute. It's about understanding patterns to make work flow better for everyone, ultimately boosting business performance and competitiveness. Secondly, these tools can bring a new level of fairness and objectivity to performance metrics. Traditional performance reviews can sometimes be subjective or influenced by unconscious bias. By using data-driven insights, we can move towards more unbiased evaluations, genuinely recognize high-performing individuals, and understand workload distribution more accurately. This actually helps to move away from micromanagement, as managers can rely on objective data rather than constant check-ins. Thirdly, and importantly, this data can highlight where employees might need support or additional training. If certain tasks are consistently taking longer than expected across a team, it might indicate a need for better tools, clearer instructions, or targeted training programs. It's a diagnostic tool that allows us to be more proactive in supporting our employees' growth and well-being. Of course, ethical safeguards are paramount. Clear policies, absolute transparency with employees about what is being monitored and why, and a steadfast respect for essential privacy are non-negotiable. The goal is to create a more efficient, fair, and supportive work environment for all.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, David, for your perspective. While I understand the business desire for increased productivity and efficiency, I believe we must critically examine the methods used to achieve these goals, particularly when they involve surveillance. My primary concern is the profound erosion of trust and morale that such systems can engender. When employees feel they're under constant observation, it can foster a culture of suspicion and anxiety, rather than one of collaboration and mutual respect. This constant scrutiny can significantly damage the employee-employer relationship, stifle creativity, and lead to a decline in overall job satisfaction and psychological well-being. Secondly, there are significant privacy concerns and the inherent potential for data misuse. Employees have a fundamental right to a degree of privacy, even in the workplace. What happens if this sensitive data, collected under the guise of productivity, is misinterpreted, taken out of context, or used for purposes beyond its original intent? The risk of creating detailed profiles of employees' work habits, and even personal habits if lines are blurred, is very real and deeply troubling. Thirdly, I critique the almost inevitable focus on quantity over quality that these systems promote. Surveillance technologies, by their nature, tend to measure what is easily measurable: keystrokes, mouse movements, time spent on applications. This often incentivizes employees to focus on performing these easily tracked tasks, potentially at the expense of more complex, qualitative, innovative, or collaborative work that is harder to quantify, but often more valuable. Ultimately, we face an ethical dilemma. Do the perceived, and often narrowly defined, benefits of productivity surveillance justify the significant ethical costs and the impact on human dignity at work? I believe we must question whether we are creating workplaces that value people or merely their output metrics. David, your emphasis on transparency is noted, but I contend that transparency alone doesn't negate the psychological impact of being constantly monitored. The very awareness of persistent observation, what sociologists sometimes refer to as an intensified Hawthorne effect, can be detrimental. It can lead to, quote, performative work, employees focusing on appearing busy and productive according to the metrics, rather than engaging deeply and authentically with their tasks or taking risks that could lead to innovation. You also speak of sophisticated tools, but even the most advanced tools are only as good as their interpretation, and the potential for misuse or misinterpretation remains high. If data isn't contextualized with extreme care, considering individual circumstances and the nuances of different roles, it can lead to flawed assumptions, unfair pressure, or even penalties for employees who are genuinely productive in ways the system doesn't capture well. Furthermore, this brings me to the impact on innovation. A surveillance-heavy environment is often antithetical to the conditions necessary for true innovation. Innovation thrives on autonomy, experimentation, and the psychological safety to try new things, to fail, and to learn from those failures, without the constant fear of scrutiny or judgment based on moment-to-moment productivity metrics.
Some compelling points from both of you. Mr. Miller, Dr. Carter raises a critical point about innovation. How can companies ensure that the implementation of surveillance technologies doesn't inadvertently stifle the creativity and risk-taking that are so crucial for long-term business success and adaptability?
That's a crucial consideration, Sarah. Firstly, the focus of monitoring should be on team and process efficiency, rather than individual minute-by-minute actions for creative roles. Secondly, data can be used to identify and remove bureaucratic hurdles that impede innovation. We can also explicitly carve out innovation time or projects that are assessed on outcomes, not on the process metrics used for more routine tasks. It's about applying the right kind of measurement to the right kind of work, and always communicating the why behind it.
Dr. Carter, proponents like Mr. Miller often argue that these tools can ensure fairness and visibility, especially in remote or hybrid work environments where managers might have less direct insight into an employee's contributions. Is there any scenario where you might see a limited, carefully bounded form of monitoring as acceptable, perhaps to ensure equity in such distributed teams?
That's a challenging question, Sarah, because the potential for inequity exists with or without monitoring if management practices are poor. If monitoring is considered, it would have to be extremely limited in scope, focused on project deliverables and outcomes rather than activity, and co-designed with employees with robust safeguards against bias in the algorithms or interpretation. However, I'd still argue that fostering strong communication, clear expectations, and trust-based management are far more effective long-term solutions for equity in remote settings than relying on surveillance, which can easily become a crutch for poor leadership.
A key tension here clearly lies between individual privacy and organizational efficiency. Mr. Miller, from your perspective, where do you draw the line on what is acceptable to monitor? What data points, for instance, would you consider off-limits? And how do you ensure that line isn't crossed?
The line is drawn at relevance and respect. We should only monitor what is directly relevant to work performance and organizational effectiveness. Personal emails, private messages, non-work-related web browsing, or any biometric data beyond basic presence for security in specific contexts are definitely off-limits. Ensuring this involves strict data governance policies, anonymization or aggregation of data where possible, clear communication to employees, and regular audits of the systems and their usage.
And Dr. Carter, Following on from that, are there any tools or approaches that you believe could genuinely enhance productivity or help manage workflows without crossing what you see as critical ethical lines?
Certainly. Tools that are employee-controlled, for instance, which help individuals manage their own time and tasks, can be very beneficial. Project management software that focuses on collaborative task completion and progress towards shared goals, rather than individual activity levels, can also be positive. The key distinction is whether the tool empowers the employee and enhances their autonomy and ability to work effectively, or whether it primarily serves as a mechanism for managerial oversight and control. Feedback mechanisms that are qualitative and developmental, rather than purely quantitative and judgmental, are also far more constructive. In summary, while the pursuit of productivity is understandable, achieving it through pervasive employee surveillance fundamentally undermines the essential human aspects of work: trust, autonomy, and psychological safety. My core concern remains that such practices risk creating dehumanizing workplace environments where individuals are reduced to mere cogs in a machine, their value judged solely by easily quantifiable outputs. This not only impacts well-being, but can also stifle the very creativity and engagement that drive long-term success. I strongly advocate for exploring and investing in more humane and ultimately more effective methods to foster productivity. These include clear goal setting, providing employees with the resources and support they need, cultivating intrinsic motivation through meaningful work, and fostering a culture of trust and empowerment, not one of suspicion and control.
To conclude, I want to reiterate that responsible and transparent productivity tracking is not about oppression. It's about optimization and providing support in an increasingly competitive global environment. When these tools are implemented correctly, with clear communication and ethical guidelines, they can lead to fairer evaluations, more efficient processes, better resource allocation, and targeted employee development. This is about gaining insights that help both the company and its employees to perform better, and to identify areas for growth and improvement. The key, as we've discussed, is ethical implementation, focusing on insights that empower individuals and teams rather than control them. Our aim should be to work smarter, together, leveraging technology thoughtfully to enhance how we work, not to diminish the human element within it.
Thank you both, Mr. Miller and Dr. Carter, for your insightful and thought-provoking contributions to this complex discussion. It's clear that balancing technological capabilities, legitimate business necessities for efficiency, and fundamental employee rights to privacy and dignity is a delicate act. There are no easy answers, and the conversation around employee surveillance will undoubtedly continue to evolve as technology and workplace norms change. We encourage our audience to reflect on the diverse perspectives shared today as they consider this issue in their own context. Thank you for joining us on Future Forward.